Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Mary and I'm a scientist and illustrator artist, and I make these videos to try and balance my 9 to 5 with my creative side. On the side I run a tiny art shop where I sell prints of my artwork that's inspired by nature and autumn and everything that brings me joy. And so please do grab a cup of tea and join me, and I hope you enjoy this video. Today we'll start with packing an order with some help from our cats, Toto, Lily and Pixie. Hello and welcome to this video. Today I am working on getting some prints done. That is Toto, he's my cat. So I've had an order. I don't get many orders, but I have had an order for not one but 2 prints. I just love making the prints myself. I love printing them. I love packaging. I love making little postcards to go in the packages. One is going to Finland, so I'm very excited. I love the idea that my artwork is actually going around the world and it's going to end up in someone's room somewhere. So let's get packaging. This is the print. This is one of my robot and cat drawings, and this is But What If It All Works Out? Because what if it does work out? You know? This is the paper that I use to make the matte prints that I do. These prints are going to be A5, so this is an A4 size and I'm going to trim it down to A5. It is good for inkjet printers, which is what I have. There's something quite therapeutic about the art of bringing your art to life and giving it to someone else. I'm going to be honest, I always forget how to print my prints, so I just write a little list here. Figuring out my printing settings was actually a lot of trial and error, and at one point I almost gave up entirely, but I persevered and eventually got there in the end. So once I've actually printed out the print, I will trim it again, and then I usually put it on backing like this and inside of a plastic sleeve, which is biodegradable. Then I will add a lot of freebies, hopefully some stickers I might be able to print out this evening. It's been a long day for Pixie. For this order, like many orders that I get, I decided to create some stickers. To make these, I used designs that I already had and made them small, and then put them on one large piece of A4 paper. Honestly, seeing them this small is just so adorable. After I've added the glossy finish to them, I love using this little clipper tool to clip the edges to take them from a pointy edge to a much rounder one. Throughout most of my art making, Lily's always here to remind me what matters most in life. And of course, that means pets. I hope you found that insight at least somewhat interesting. When I'm not creating, I work in a lab in London where I carry out research into rare genetic disorders, particularly in children. At the moment, I'm having to do a lot of background reading into understanding more about the brain and how it connects up to make you essentially who you are. If you would have asked younger me what I wanted to be when I grow up, I probably wouldn't have said scientist, but I also probably wouldn't have said artist either. In fact, I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I just knew that the future existed, and somewhere in that future, I existed too. I think I was really fortunate as a kid to be able to find a lot of interest in the smaller little things in life. I have one really vivid memory of keeping tadpoles. We had a pond at school where our teachers would take us and show us how the tadpoles would go from having no legs and a tail to then having legs and a tail and then losing their tail. And so I think that's probably the closest thing to being a scientist that I can remember. After doing a little bit of tidying up at work, I will pack up my things and start heading home, where I can go and see the cats. Hi, I'm home and I'm making stickers, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making like autumnal themed stuff. So far I've just drawn a mushroom person. I don't know what it means. I don't know what's going on psychologically behind this, but it's bringing me some sort of joy. There's this guy. I quite like him. I think he's sweet. Baby. She just sits here and waits for me to be done. It's not incredible, but this was definitely fun to make. The next day started with being completely exhausted. I'm so tired, guys. I'm so tired. So of course, like most, my day began with a good cup of coffee. Lily joined us for that too. We've been blessed by the Lily. Where do I begin? The last week has been quite overloaded with work, but it's also been a lot more social than I'm used to. I am generally quite a shy person, but I really thrive when I'm with people that I do know and I care about. Having a very social week has been very good for me, and I've been asked some really interesting questions this week by people that I know and people that I don't know. One of the questions was, if I had like endless amount of money, what would I do with my life? I think it's a really interesting question because you get to see where people's dreams actually are and what makes their brains like light up with joy. And I think my actual answer to that question is I would go to art school. Art has always been one of the most patient friends that I've ever had. There were tons of moments where I'd had to put art down for a day, a week, a month, even years, and I've had breaks for many different reasons. But I've always been able to go back to art and pick it up again and have it fill me with joy. However, I do know that I'm romanticizing the idea of art school, and I know it's not easy, but I would love the ability to go in and take out my pencils and just start drawing. Anyway, on this day, I was just too tired to do anything, so I did the right thing, and I gave myself a break. Привет, доброе утро. I'm learning Russian. Yesterday, a wave of exhaustion just hit me, and I couldn't really do much other than just like lay about and edit last week's video. I found some sort of like solace in drawing autumn leaves. I drew this yesterday because for some reason, it just brought me so much peace. I'd like to fill it with a couple more leaves. So what we're going to do is go for a run, and while we're on that run, pay attention to the leaves and the different colours and shapes that we see. This is my running top. It is something I picked up off of Vinted. It was probably like £10. Probably one of the hardest things about doing art on the side is knowing exactly what to do when you have a moment to create. And so one of the things that I've kind of figured that works for me is to take inspiration from things that I see in my everyday life. And because autumn is just so beautiful, it's been really easy for me to just be able to take inspiration from the leaves and the trees and the shapes that they produce. On this run in particular, I saw this branch which I thought would be perfect to put a little character on. And so I've saved it, and I will probably use it at some point. But for now, let's get back to our little leaves. After coming back home, I realised I wasn't actually in the mood for doing art right away, and I had a couple of errands to run, which included going to the DIY store and picking up some pots for some plants. I love going to the DIY store because it's actually just a whole place filled with potential projects that you can carry out. I also love how big the physical shops actually are. It just makes me feel so small, which is great sometimes. Maybe this is a little strange, but I often realize that when I feel so small, it can reframe how big my problems actually are and make them feel a lot more tangible to solve myself. I'm the kind of person that will have quite a lot of anxieties about different things, and so little things like this really help me. As golden hour began to creep in, I started having a look through the different photos that we managed to get on our run, and I quite liked the look of the different leaves that we found.
What never fails to fascinate me is how deep their pigments actually are.
Welcome back. A whole day has happened. It's almost evening. The sun is setting behind me, and I thought it would be a good time to just bring us back and complete the autumn leaves piece. These are a couple of photos that I got today. It's one of these, one with the berries, which I really like. I love the patterns on the leaf here. And this one, I just love how it was arranged as a sort of like 5-leaf structure. But I think what I'm going to do is draw this one. What I'm going to do is just draw in the shape really roughly and then fill it in and go from there. After we sort of colour block it with one colour, what we then are going to do is add in a couple of other colours to sort of complement it and add some depth to the leaf and also some detail. One thing I'm really enjoying about this exercise is that it is almost sort of like a textbook exercise where I'm taking the shape and form and just displaying it, and it almost feels like when they make scientific diagrams. Recently I've been making quite a few for just the brain and for me to understand better like what's going on in there. Actually, it might be a really nice idea for me to think about maybe making something that can also be used as a scientific diagram. But anyway, I think what I've got to do now is probably go and make some food because I am starving. And I've actually started the next leaf, which will be this much longer, sort of like fellow here. I don't know if you can see that, but you'll see it at the end.
Like most autumn days, this one also ended in bursts of colour. I continued to experiment with the piece, adding different bits of text and writing descriptions for the different leaves that I had drawn. And like most art pieces, I put it aside for a couple of days. And something that I didn't expect was the release of Charlie Mackessie's new book. Charlie's definitely one of the biggest inspirations for my work, and seeing this was just the best thing ever. I love how gentle his illustrations are, as well as how vulnerable they make you feel. In this quote, "It can be extraordinarily brave to do ordinary things," really wrapped up the day for me. Because it's true, we rarely ever hear about ordinary lives, but I have a feeling that they can be some of the happiest ones out there. Anyway, here's Pixie.
This is my final design. I added a paper texture and it makes the pencils look even more realistic. I have an alternative where I don't have the paper texture and I've made the boundaries or borders of the piece a little bit more sort of visible so I can print it. Hello and welcome back. It's been quite a few days since you last saw me. Creating art is rarely, if ever, linear for me. I have some good news. I finished the autumn leaf project and this is what I have. I love it. So in making this I had to do 3 different variations. The first one, you can see that the top and the bottom got cut off by my printer, so I had to make the entire thing much smaller and add some borders, and this is what I got. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but the paper texture that I used didn't print out so well. It looked a bit too contrasty to me and it didn't actually look real. So I got rid of the paper texture and this is what I got last. I much prefer that. So I'm probably going to use this postcard to write little messages to people who order from my shop. So before I end the video, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for the attention that last week's video got. I did not expect that at all, and welcome to all of the new subscribers here, all of our new friends. And so if you've made it this far in this video, please do comment below a little emoji of a leaf. I loved receiving all of last week's clouds. They were so cute. And if you're new here and you like this video, please do consider subscribing. And so until next time, take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.